Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the True Life Podcast. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I hope everybody is living the dream and got to wake up next to the person you love the most. And if not, I hope that you realize there's a little bit of a miracle waiting for you. I have an incredible guest today for you, the one and only Anastazja Gajkowska. And she's a multifaceted, talented individual whose work spans psychology, filmmaking, authorship, and acting. As the CEO of Expose Network, Anastazja is dedicated to creating a supportive community for individuals who have endured the trauma of toxic relationships. Her mission focuses on offering valuable insights into recognizing toxic patterns, setting healthy boundaries, and moving forward from unhealthy dynamics. Based in Los Angeles, California, she's also affiliated with Expose Productions and the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry. Anastazja is committed to empowering others through her varied roles, underscores her impact as a psychologist, a storyteller, and a documentary filmmaker. She's done a lot of cool stuff. She's got books, documentaries. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Anastazja. Thank you for being here, Anastazja. How are you?
I am amazed of your Spanish skills. That was awesome. Universidad de Catalunya. You've done it great.
Wow.
I'm like, where did he did? You did a great job. Thank you for that.
Well,
That
thank
feels
you.
good.
I appreciate it. And I think that you have equally done a good job in helping people begin to understand the nature of some toxic relationships. And, I didn't give you a whole lot of that background. I wanted to save some space for you to give an introduction into, what your documentary's about, what your book's about, and how do you want to introduce this idea of relationships, this narcissism and these relationships that's going on?
It's very simple. I think we make it complicated, but it's all about love. And loving means being good to yourself. And the movement is, hey, if you had a story, like there was a chapter in your life, you allow somebody to hurt you in any way, emotionally, sexually, physically, financially, then you have a story. And your story is a message. And the universe waits to hear that message. So it's really simple. Sounds simple, but it's a lot of work. That's why I provide the community. We have a Facebook group, and you are invited to join, so you don't have to do it alone. What I found really helped me in my healing journey was being around another woman who experienced what I experienced. And that's the only woman like Crystal Beha. She's amazing. You have to woman like Marisa Rico. That's another author, and many other women of the pivot who made it easier for all of us. So, and easier doesn't mean that you still have to do the work, which means all those, I'm here on the show, but I have my ups and downs, and I work a lot through my shadows, from feeling inferior and not good enough. And it's just kind of playing with that a little bit and celebrating it when it comes. And that's why I feel like having the tribe and the group and the movement, like you can see those faces, those are the people who actually did share their stories, 88 people from 6 continents. And I asked them 5 questions. And I need to get a sip of water.
Yeah, handle it.
It's getting hot here.
Yeah.
So, and as well, experts, that's what I wanted to say. We have Lisa Romano. She is a worldwide expert in narcissistic relationships and healing codependency. And Alexis Nee, she's a relationship coach and Flora Ong, she's a dating coach. So and many others names, experts who are talking about the healing of your body, the healing of your psyche, the energetics as well in it, and the healing of your sexuality, and then thriving. That's my favorite word. Which what it really is, it's, you know, it's what you make it. It can means many things, but for me, in my perspective, it really truly means being able to share your story and release that shame within it, and allow yourself to receive the love you craved when you were, back 10, 20 years in that situation, when nobody came, when nobody cared, when nobody was there for you, when you were so much disconnected from who you were, that you are able to almost go back to that moment, embrace that part of yourself who was there left alone, and connect with her or him. And you can experience, another layer of the healing.
Yeah, you bring up so many incredible themes. In the documentary, I've seen some shorts on your YouTube channel, which will be linked down below. It really dives into the depths of different perspectives and understandings. And I love that you have weaved your own sort of experience in there, because I think there's some real truth that comes from the person who has the lived experience of it. And in a previous conversation, you had mentioned that on some level, you think that there is an attractiveness. On some level, the person who feels they're not enough attracts the narcissist into their life. I was wondering if you could maybe explain that to people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you for this question. So I had to learn this as well. And first, when I heard it, I felt like a lot of resistance. And I like, what I want to say is that pay attention when you feel resistance to, like what makes you like, no, because that many times it's something what you might want to really pay attention more towards. So when I was doing the documentary series, someone mentioned to me, hey, being in narcissistic relationship, it awakes you. It is like the calling of the universe to be the best version of yourself. And part of me was like, interesting. Because if you take, and here I'm getting thirsty again. If you take all that attention on what they did to me, how did they hurt me, what did they did to my child, which is all valid. I don't question that. I don't. But if you take that attention for a minute just to play on yourself, not to blame yourself, opposite, to kind of own it. Like, how much did I allow them to, to take over my body? How much did I allow them to take over my feelings, my emotions, that actually I allow them? So you have that power. You had that power back then, and you are owning it as you are, looking back. And, that's a question for the audience. Did she or he had some peace in her or him, which you deeply dream to have? or like embody it. Maybe that charm, maybe that charisma, maybe that confidence, maybe some part of them which you felt so drawn at the very beginning, which you long so much to be more of.
Yeah, it speaks to seeing what you want in yourself and someone else. And like that is so like that's probably the foundation of attraction, is seeing something in someone else, whether it's a dream of what you want to be, or a dream of what you want your child to be, or a dream of a life you want to live. And I think it speaks volumes of who we are by what we see in other people. And it's a difficult situation though, because as the relationship you have talked about in your documentary and the people you interview, like you get a lot of different perspectives on the narcissistic relationship. What was one of the things that you learned by talking to other people, whether it was the dating coach or whether it was a guy in a narcissistic relationship? What are some things that you learned talking to people, making this documentary, that maybe you didn't know of before?
You're such a great in making questions. What's the one thing which I learned? Is
Yeah,
that what
or
you
there's
said?
probably many. Yeah.
Mm, that we are all the same. I think that's what I learned. That we do have so much in common. When I say the same, it's, outside we can have a longer hair or, bigger boobs, smaller boobs, whatever it is you
Right,
want.
right, right.
But on the inside, we have so many similarities. We want to be loved and we want to give love. And it's, as I really had this reflection today. And it's kind of miracle I can talk today, because yesterday I had eye infection and today my eye is perfect. But I had this reflection this morning that, I would like to actually invite you to go back to the moment when you were a child, to close your eyes if you can for a minute. Take a deep inhale and long exhale. And if you want, you can keep your eyes open or you can keep them closed. I want to invite you back to the moment when you were 2 or 3 years old. If you can go back there, or the earliest memory you had. And see that child. And could it be that that part of you, all what it wanted was love? To be loved. And something through the years of being on this earth disconnected you from that conditional love. And somewhere we thought maybe it's stupid. Maybe love doesn't exist. So I get to take some drugs, take alcohol, have sex, do something to fill up that need. But what if that need is to be connected? And that's where I would like to invite you to see yourself as the part of the earth. And that's the love, the earth. And when we are deeply connected with the earth, which was before we were born and will be after we die, that's when we see ourselves as everyone around us, different parts of us in them.
It's beautiful. Takes me back to a time when I was a kid, and it definitely makes me think that we're all part of the whole. And when you realize that you're part of the whole, you're able to, on some level, get out of the narrow view that you matter so much. And maybe that's what narcissism is a desperate need to want to be loved on some level. And that's why you only love yourself, is because you've never been loved before. Is that too far of a bridge, you think?
Say that again, that you only love.
Yeah, how do you define narcissism? Like, is, and on some level that makes me think someone that has been without love for so long they can only love themselves.
Do they really love themselves?
Maybe they don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think it's a good question to ask somebody who in some way identified themselves with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not really like expert on this topic.
Right.
So I don't want to say something what others can perceive like this is the truth and this has to be like this. But I can say that any personality disorders has been created because of some trauma, some disconnection. And as a result of that, we have the what you call, histrionic or bipolar personality disorder, or schizophrenic, or paranoid, or you mentioned narcissistic. And the research shows that many of those adults, they had really tough childhood when there was a lot of expectations and they couldn't meet those expectations, or the opposite, there was a lot of praise. But there wasn't really unconditional love, which is like, no matter what you do, I'm going to be with you. That factor wasn't there. So they created their self-worth based on either earning it or finding it as the extension in somebody else, just like their parents somewhere.
Yeah.
So you have this kind of persona, this kind of persona who we see on the outside as, of course, they love themselves. They look like, but that's the human brain and how we create biases. Based on, there's this phenomenon called first impression, right? Like based on we meet somebody and we create right away the feeling if we like them or we don't. And then there's something called cognitive dissonance, which basically two beliefs cannot exist together. So if I see somebody as, great, charming, then if they show me a little different side, then I will be more into, oh, maybe he had a bad day.
Right.
Or she had a bad day. So your question, if somebody who's struggle with maybe being a little more on the narcissistic side, if they love themselves, it's questionable, because we can ask them, but also in my perspective, they never experience unconditional love as a children. So yeah.
Yeah, it on some level, like it brings up the
I mean,
idea. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, there is this I know this picture when people talk about narcissism, like the flower, right? Like they look at the mirror and they like are so much in that love, and it looks like it's love, but that's another question, the conditioning, all
Hmm.
that glamour, all that facade, which social media and Disney and all those things, they really brainwash us,
Yeah.
and our brain thinks this is love. So what's love for you? What does it mean to love yourself? Maybe I ask you that.
That's a great question, and I on some level, I feel like the words we've been using for the last few millennia, maybe not millennia, but the last few generations are evolving. Our ideas are evolving. And, we use the word love, but it might as well just be called magic because we don't really know what it means. For me, love is the willingness to sacrifice yourself for the well-being of someone else in times of tribulation, in times of stress, and willing to do things for them in hopes that it will be reciprocated. And you can't always know. Like maybe a lot of marriages fail, a lot of relationships fail for a lot of different reasons. And sometimes people talk about falling out of love or falling in love, but for me, it's almost a feeling that you get when someone sacrifices for you as much as when you sacrifice for someone else, and it's being part of something bigger than you. But that's not even it's still kind of a messy definition. I don't think that there's the accurate linguistic pathways to describe what it is. And so we fall into these traps where maybe we love someone the way our family taught us to, but they don't reciprocate it because they were never taught that way. Relationships are messy and they're hard, and a lot of relationships fail. I've lived in the United States my whole life. I've toured to different countries a little bit, but I haven't lived in other countries for more than a year. What do you think? Are relationships different in different countries? You've lived all over the world and you speak multiple languages. And have you encountered different cultural ideas of love in different parts of where you've lived?
No. No. The answer is no. Next question.
Well, you've interviewed lots of people from different walks of life, right? And what are some? I know that you've spoken a little bit about grooming, and I've seen some of the shorts that you've been putting out on your YouTube channel, which I think are phenomenal. Not only is the style in which you're dropping the documentary phenomenal, but the actual sort of information in that documentary is amazing. And I like listening to the individuals talk about what's happening to them. And part of, I don't want to give away too much of the secret sauce, but they talk about grooming, and there seems to be something similar in everyone's story about the beginning of a relationship that kind of grooms them to be in this dysfunctional relationship. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to attach
Yeah.
some answer to your previous question.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
Of course, there are some cultural differences, but just as the core, as I live in different places, it's just the same need of love. Just very simple, of giving love, and we all have that need. Regardless, well, I thought it's about changing the environment, so that's why I went to Spain when I was 19, because I felt like, I think it was just fight and fight mode, me trying to survive. And there's this fake belief we might have that the different culture might bring something up. Oh, hello. We have with us Crystal
Got
and yes.
Crystal and
What's
Lonnie,
up?
thank you for chiming in. We love you, ladies. Thank you for doing all that you two do.
Yeah, cheers for you both, ladies. Because of you, I can be here. Both of them actually connected me with you, so cheers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If that answered that question, that that I had this fake idea that I might go to Spain or live in Denmark. I was living there for a while trying to get my design degree. I thought I would be a designer. So it all was just kind of desperately me, myself, trying to find meaningful life, And it's nothing wrong with traveling and having those experiences, but as I moved to States 5 years ago, and I had still the need, okay, now what next? Maybe I should move to Australia, maybe I should go to New Zealand. And it was almost this, like 4 years, and that's it. I need to shift to different place. Like I couldn't put my roots. There was something there around that, searching, like Viktor Frank talks about searching for some meaning outside of me, when truly all of those experiences opened my eyes in many ways, because I came from a little village, less than 1,000 people in Poland. So I grew up around animals and pets. And I had no fun until I was, I think, 14 or 15, which I think is a blessing for me. So it really opened my eyes on how life can be and who I am and who we are. And but under all of that, cultural things and religion, how people express love differently, it's a really simple need of being loved and giving love. So, and about the grooming, you asked me about the grooming. So yes, we have 15 episodes, and each of those episodes focuses on different topic. The first one is around grooming, and where me and those 88 individuals from 6 continents are, some of them had experienced what we call grooming. Oh, Crystal says, I always get distracted. I have ADHD. You are my amazing, you are my amazing, beautiful soul sister who is changing the world. Oh, Crystal, thank you. Well, I am you, you are me. So I'm taking you through those 5 stages of grooming in that first episode, which the first one is targeting. The second one is creating, gaining trust and control. The third one is filling up a need, which is like you might need some validation, or you might need friends. If you are in a new country like I was, I just needed a friend. Or you might be out of some really bad divorce or some breakup, and you might just need a soulmate, what they call soulmate. So whatever you crave and you are in this mode of like desperation, that's when the groomer comes and like, that's the stage number 4, which abuse starts. I'm trying to make it more playful, because it really is horrifying when you are inside of it. And I do remember talking, just shortly when I was in the therapy, my therapist made me to see those 5 stages, like how actually groomer targeted me from the very beginning, and I was just one of many. And that really changed my perspective later on trust. But that's, the idea of creating 15 episodes was to really take you through what does it take to heal those different parts. Like if you leave the abusive relationship, there's a part of you who doesn't trust people. So in the episode number 6, we are talking about healing those beliefs and scarves from what happened to your mind. And then episode 7 talks about the healing of your body, how the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is just the first. This is those 15 episodes are just for you to try and taste it and see if it works for you. So I'm not the guru here. I'm just trying to provide some resources which I wish when I was 19, lost on those Barcelona streets, trying to just be nice and good. And I wish I saw this documentary series back then somewhere and to be exposed to it. That's why the title is Expose. And it's just, you cannot really unseen what you saw. It becomes some part of you, some part of you knows this has a name. This is not me being crazy. This is a gaslighting. So it really, that's my purpose with the documentary series, to educate. And because of people like you and Crystal and so many beautiful women and men, and as well the Barbara Lee I actually opened, me and another person, David English, who is not today with me, we open a non-profit behind it, which the purpose is to support survivors of domestic violence with a therapy and educational videos. So how does it land? You have
I think it lands beautiful. I think that there's something to be said, not only for someone who lives through the experience, but finds a way to tell the story. And I think you're an excellent storyteller. When I watch the documentary, when I watch the shorts, not only does your message of overcoming the situation come through, but you talking to other people, like I can see both of you learning at the same time. And I would point that out for anybody who goes and watches the shorts or the documentary. You can see in real time both yourself and the individual with whom you're speaking reliving some situations and learning. And I think that it sort of transcends watching something. Like I feel when I'm watching it, like I'm part of it. Like I really get to feel both of your stories. And I think it's therapeutic in some ways. And maybe that should be part of the nonprofit. Maybe someone that comes to the nonprofit, or maybe a part of therapy for people that have been in a tough situation, is making a film about it or reliving it in a third person point of view, because now you're giving a new awareness to the situation, one that you can see without shame and one someone can experience without shame. It's almost like a whole new form of communication. And it's very unique to what you're doing. And from the way you've dropped out each series in shorts to the meaningful communications you have behind it, like I think you're a phenomenal storyteller. And I hope that more people will go and watch it, because I really think that more people can learn from it. So yeah, you totally answered the question. What do you think it's therapeutic? Have you found it therapeutic to go and make this documentary? And has it changed the way you see relationships?
Yes, on so many different levels. Yes. I actually started this documentary for my selfish reason on finding the truth, like how can I heal and be happy after heartbreak, after my heart was broken, even it was abusive, I was in love.
Right.
I discover that doing it all together, it just brings this like witnessing someone else and seeing, going through what you went through, similar stories, and seeing yourself, it almost, in that story somewhere, it almost allows you to create more space for the compassion. And it is easier for many of us to have compassion for others than to ourselves when you have been through some neglect and your tech giver wasn't able to give you that compassion. Then I say hello, I was there too, and I'm still many times there. So doing it in a community of another woman and man, it's the exposure of that, I feel like it can change everything. For me it did. I just realized it's okay. I'm going to leave it. And it's not just me, okay, me listening to their stories. There were moments of them crying and them sharing, oh, this is my first time ever I'm sharing my story. So it was all raw. And I had no idea how am I going to really put it all together, which at first I thought it would be one episode, but then it was, it became something else out of it. But to answer your question, I feel like it's very therapeutical and we should do it more and more often and more often. And because it's like us doing that, it creates that space for another or someone else, for them to allow themselves to to be vulnerable and to be raw and to cry or to scream or whatever it takes to get it out. And when you were a child, probably that anger and wasn't allowed, or you couldn't get too excited, or you couldn't get too angry because there was some punishment. So being able to do it all in a tribe with the, I'm here, like connected. Yeah, that's the movement, which I say it's not my movement, it's our movement. And that's the movement I invite all of you to join if you have experience, if this message resonates with you and you have experienced some trauma and you would like to share it in a safe space and really being not just celebrated, I'm looking for the right word, but I think you have to experience it when you are really with your tribe. It changes in your brain something. I do think that there's probably some research behind that, because trauma, what it is, it's really it happens when we are isolated. So something happened and there was nobody around us to help us to release it in the moment. So when we are, I almost feel like I had this picture when we come to the tribe and we share our story, we kind of relieve that moment, and now we get to release it because we have the tribe, we have the support. So I do feel that's therapeutical.
Yeah, I think so too. Lonnie's got some great points in here. For anybody who hasn't, for anybody who's not aware of Lonnie Ray, she's like a 25-time best-selling author. She's helped so many incredible people, and she is incredible when it comes to behavior, and she's helped so many people get their stories out. She says that it literally changes the brain. whether you're making something, you're writing something, you're creating a documentary, you're reliving the experience. It seems to me one thing that happens when I was talking to some people who have had this trauma, or some people in the documentary, that there's a level of shame. Like, people don't want to tell their story because they're afraid maybe of how people are going to judge them, or maybe they're afraid of how they feel, or they feel shameful for letting it happen to them. How did you overcome that? Was there a period where you're like, I'm not going to tell anybody about this? And how did you go from that period to like, you know what, I'm going to tell everyone about this?
I just want to also celebrate Lonnie for being here. And yes, so good you are with us, and thank you for all what you have done.
Yes.
And all your, actually, it was last week when the Rattle Awake has been, yeah. That's such an accomplishment.
Incredible.
Oh. So to answer, say again.
The idea of abuse, whether it's being in a bad relationship, substance abuse, or physical violence, sometimes things happen. Yeah. Yep.
So did I feel shame? Yes. I haven't told my mother or my family what happened until 1 year or 2 years after my therapy, because of the shame. I actually shared my story to strangers because it was easier. And shame, Brené Brown talks beautifully about shame, and I think it's they say it's the worst feeling ever to have, but I feel like maybe it's the best one. Maybe it's the one you get to play the most and expose it. And it's not going to feel good when you do it in the wrong environment. So I remember, sharing my story when I was actually in a court in Spain, when I took it to the court, that case, and I was trying to make statements in Spanish to explain what happened. And I do remember the lack of support, like them not really being emotionally or trauma informed or emotionally with me. And I didn't have even translator, so I was really left there with another type of trauma now, because here I was explaining all what happened to me to even more traumatizing environment in front of the court. And it's that's a deep topic. But what we really, I have an offer. What we can do with shame is play. Like, maybe if you don't want to share your story, write it and make a chapter for the next Rattle Awake.
Yeah.
You don't have to say it loud yet. Or I don't know if that's, there are layers of where how the shame gets to be transmuted. But if you are an artist, make a painting out of it, or somewhere you want to transmute that energy of feeling like what I lastly say, what you don't want is that shame becomes you. Like, I'm bad because this and this. You don't want that. That's the ultimate no. We don't. And I have done it many times, and I still do that, but later on, with a community and support, that's why you don't have to join Expose. You can create your own movement. I really want you to know that it has to happen in community, and you need to have people who are there emotionally for you. So and then you start to, one day you start to have awareness. Like yesterday, I had this awareness. I was with my partner in the kitchen, and I have sometimes this impulse to open some package, like very rapidly. So he found that package and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it, you did that. And I feel so much shame now. And I start to play with it. And we both laugh and like, oh, I love you anyway. Okay. So it was just, the moment where I just allowed that, and it really is like us allowing ourselves to feel it and play a little with it, and it transmutes, it goes. It's like a wave, kind of like every emotion comes and go, but I do understand that it can make us stuck, and that's why we need community and people around us we can open up and say like, hey, this and this happened. And sometimes, it just opens some possibilities when we feel like trapped in that shame. Because I do know, I understand why people don't talk about domestic violence, because I was there too. But those are the baby steps we take toward expressing. You don't want to keep it. That's the idea. Express it, get it out. Go and dance, shake it. Use your body to get it out of that nervous system of like feeling it like it's me, like having nightmares and not being able to eat and sleep normally, as we all should have ecstasy. Feeling more of that instead of that holding that inside of us.
Do you think it's a learned behavior? Like when I look back at my childhood, my parents got divorced at a pretty early age. And I remember having some difficult situations where like I was molested as a kid. And I remember like my parents not doing anything about it. And like I had to carry that with me for a long time. And like to this day, sometimes it still bothers me. Like, they didn't do anything. Do you think that when poor things like that happen to people, like that is something that they now look for in a relationship on an unconditioned level? Like you've been conditioned to realize that there's no consequences for you when something bad happens to you. Do you think that that plays out in adult relationships, and that's why a lot of people maybe seek out relationships that are maybe not the most healthy?
Well, first of all, I want to celebrate you for sharing it, because you as a man, it's so hard for men to talk about sexual trauma, because you're supposed to just man it up and don't talk about it and just be cool and come on, so there's even more, I feel like I'm happy I'm a woman. Almost like it's kind of easier for us to talk about,
Right.
To be in that role of yeah.
Yeah, it happens to everybody, I think, and the more people that
Yes,
talk about
everybody.
it, the better we are. Yeah.
So to answer your question, as the ultimate and only one answer, in my perspective, is that you as a child saw something and experienced what should never happen, and nobody reacting to that. That probably that was horrifying. And that might created this belief, I don't know the English word for it, but basically that this is okay for me to be disrespected, for my body to be disrespected, and me telling someone who's supposed to be there and say, no, this has to stop, get the fuck out of my child.
Right.
And what do you need now? How can I make you feel safe? I'm sorry. The lack of that, as we grow up, can actually, just like you mentioned, make us to be more attracted, not attracted, I would say, if someone tolerating in some way because it feels familiar. It fucking feels familiar somewhere. I almost feel like it just goes back there. Hey,
Yeah.
I took it as a child. I can take
Right.
it now as an adult. It makes sense. It feels like home, almost like you know, unconsciously, and it
Yep.
happens before we even know it. Yeah.
I think that happens to a lot. Like, it doesn't have to be that form of extreme of abuse, but those things that happen to you with a child, they build a familiar foundation for those cycles to repeat later in life. And unless you get to a point where you can talk about it, you're aware of it, you can confront it, then that cycle will repeat unconsciously. Like, it's imperative. And I love what you said about paying attention to resistance, because that's so true. Where you find resistance is where you need work. You know, the same way we use resistance to build our muscles, so too is the resistance we find in life trying to help us overcome situations. But you have to be willing to confront it. You have to be willing to be like, okay, there's resistance here. What is the problem? Is it me? Is it the relationship? And you have to ask the difficult questions. Sometimes that difficult question can blow up a family problem. Sometimes that difficult question will force you to go back to being 5 and reliving difficult things, or sometimes that question will force you to go back and revisit things. But that's where the growth is, right? Like, that's where the growth is.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you do that, you will experience, you know, people ask why, like, it almost makes you feel like, oh my God, this is so much work. This is so much work. Like, oh my God, this is so much work. Going to all those moments. But maybe that's why we live so many years on this earth, to
Yeah.
really release that. You know, you live, you are here. You know, you are here. You get the chance to release that.
Yeah.
Not just, you know, from the perspective it's for you. It could be really selfish. It doesn't need to be for my children, their children, which of course is going to be. But for me, so I can have a more ecstasy and more joy and more, you know, all that, what's behind the shame, what's under the
Yeah.
anger, what's under the
Yep.
rage, what's under the hate. It's all welcome, and it's all has, you know, it will come up like a storm. and now you are adult, you have the tools, or if you don't have the tools, you can learn them. And even if you fail, oh my God, I just, you know, got triggered and I didn't even realize all the years of therapy for nothing. It's still, you know, you just, you take it all, you just take it all and allow yourself for, you know, for any errors, mistakes. And I had to learn that really too. It's okay to make mistakes. And I feel like it's all almost was, you know, a year ago, I was trying to release this documentary series and I trusted the wrong person with it, and it failed. And I had such a big, like, heartbroken. My heart was for, like, I wasn't on online anything for 12 months. I was grieving, I was crying. I was like, fuck, this is horrible. Like, I work on this, you know, for the 4 years, and this is not just my story. This is those 88 people. And then and then and then I realized I had some, you know, expectation how things should be in life. Like, I thought I could control.
Right. Right.
And that surrender of, like, you know, just I wish I could be more playful back then and just having more fun when things weren't going good, and just taking extra vacation and just having more enjoyment. But also feeling all of that, you know, it's necessary because it just was coming up, some parts of me, of that, you know, child who thought um, she could somewhere control everything around her, which, as we get older, it's really the balance between that surrendering and knowing that you are in the perfect time, in the perfect place, with the perfect people around you. And here I see Crystal saying it was heartbreaking. So proud of you for sharing about this. So yeah, I think that's why we need each other, because just so we can remind each other, that grounds you. I feel almost like sharing your story in a tribe and doing what we are doing today, it grounds you in some way.
Yeah.
And then we have Lani saying, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that having the courage to say things out loud calls the people to you that can help, right? Because you're sharing your story. And when you do that, you're kind of declaring to the world, like, this happened to me. And only when you say it out loud can you be given the answers. Like, if you want an answer, you got to ask a question, right? And sometimes you have to vocalize that question, but you have to get through the difficult parts. And that's why I think the documentary is so great at achieving the goal of releasing shame from poor relationships. It's a real factor in helping people come to terms with, hey, I'm not perfect, and nobody is, but we have this unrealistic expectation that we should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that we should be.
Where do you think that comes from?
And
Why
now
do we have that?
I like how you are intense. I should make more push-ups before this interview.
Right?
Well, conditioning, the whole, we came to this world as we came from the womb of our mother. We kind of had to agree for many things which nobody asked us for. We agreed to believe certain religion, nationality, and things which we didn't choose. And certain way of being brought up, like you should be perfect, like you mentioned, which I relate with as well. And it's all kind of designed to keep us like kind of in a box almost, right? And where we get to suffer alone and eat dinner alone and cry behind the doors with nobody knowing. And it's that separation which I feel almost like a little bit, it might be related with not enough women to bring in the world. And when I say women, I'm talking about, the female energy of deep care and why we do what we do. I just heard ice. I have here every hour, almost
Ice
every
cream
hour,
truck.
Ice cream truck. And
Makes me
I'm like,
hungry.
ice cream time. Wait. Those ice creams are tempting.
Yeah, right. Brings us back to childhood, right? There we are again.
So that conditioning, it's now we have a choice. We're adults. We can see it. We can name it. It has a name. We get to play with it and kind of play with the reality. That's what it is. That's we all do. We all of us has this reality which thinks that's the way everybody feels and thinks, and they have to agree with me. Of course, my thoughts are like, this is I lived here for 60 years. I worked so hard to make sense of this, and now the world is maybe it's not oval, maybe it's in the shape of the heart. I don't know. Have you seen it? So it's a really calling, I feel like, nowadays, of the female energy to come back and connect with the earth, and all of us, like you invited me today, just being together. And I feel like that's breaking the conditioning, of me, like I should be perfect, all those kind of beliefs which are designed to keep us certain way. So I believe we are supernatural human beings. Like I believe we were created to be heroes and goddesses and goddess, and like, all of the trauma and sabotage, it just kind of steals away our natural light. When you look at the children, they are like naturally smiling, and you feel like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like it feels so beautiful to just look at the child. And we, once in our life, we all were there in such an ecstasy and love. And this, I don't have a children myself, but anytime I see children, I'm like almost jealous of this like ability to just express themselves without anybody, excuse me, giving a fuck. You just can, that's why I feel it is important for us to do those exercises. Either it's sharing your story or make a tantrum in your house in a safe environment, like, express that anger. And just, when was the last time you gave a tantrum yourself? Like, get the pillows and just get it out. Like, I do that many times, actually, when I feel like that's what I need. And I think we all should find those ways to circulate the energy, so it doesn't have to keep us, like stuck and kind of zombie mode. And what's next? What's what's the next thing somebody else wants? Now it's like it becomes like, what do I want? What do I want to do with my time? And it's just, you become this that's what I call superheroes, which we all truly, I believe we all are. Oh yeah, did I switch on something? I
I don't
think I
think
did.
so. Did you?
Oh no. Oh, I had another. Sorry, I clicked it. And I had
Oh,
actually, I had I was, yeah, I had a trailer of expose. It was coming up, but I can put the link later on for those who would like to see it. So I hope
yeah.
that answer your question somewhere.
Yeah, of
That
course.
I just wanted to say that I'm also writing a book, actually, A Woman Way to Heal, and I'm sharing there more about, what I today shared a little bit about. I'm going deeper there, for those who would like to, or just are curious, to get to know me more and what I'm doing in the world. Here I got shy a little bit,
Yeah,
but that's
what?
okay.
No, it's beautiful. I think that I think everybody watching should, if they find themselves curious about relationships or generational trauma or just becoming a better version of themselves, they should definitely go to the links below and check out the YouTube channel, check out your book, definitely check out the documentary. I think you've done an incredible job on it, and we forgot to, you've done so much of the editing yourself with your own tools, and I think that it really expresses a angle of life that not a whole lot of people get to see. And you do it through 88 stories, and you have all these really cool individual people from different walks of life sharing their experience, which I think brings the whole documentary to life. And where can people go and find it? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about where they can find it, what you got coming up, and what you're excited about.
So I would like to be on Oprah show talking about.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going. You can go to exposenetwork.com. exposurenetwork.com, and there you will see the trailer, and the trailer, goes to YouTube. And please subscribe, because one of my dreams and many others is to get 1,000 subscribers. Yeah. And so it really helps. This is just the first expose. I want to continue creating documentary story series, and and that will be great to just click it. So you can continue watching other episodes and another series, and just stay connected.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is the first of many documentaries, and I think that people will truly enjoy it if they go down and check it out. Go to the YouTube channel, like, share it, subscribe it. Thank you to Crystal. Thank you to Lonnie. Everybody should be checking out the Rattled Awake book series. Phenomenal. And hang on briefly afterwards. Anastasia, I still want to talk to you briefly, but to everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
And I just wanted to add it that I started it with absolutely with no camera. I use Zoom. Most of my interviews were, this girl is crazy, she used your Zoom. Of course she did. She was resourceful.
Yeah, of course.
But later on, so I'm sharing this because you can make your own documentary too. You can use your iPhone. You can, if there's a certain topic you want to spread awareness, and that's actually for a while I was trying to do this in schools around me, like teach children that they can share their story. Make a documentary, but but I wasn't really, like, the doors were closed for me, because those, maybe they will be open later. Maybe when I have more, the public schools are maybe more open for some different things. I don't know for what. This kind of is unconventional way of, I feel like, helping children to express themselves. So in one point, I really want to go back to schools and do those workshops and show them how they can make their own documentary. So that's another thing which I would love to do at one point. Kudos to your documentary. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're doing it. The tools are out there. It's nice to have an incredible team of people behind you doing editing. It's nice to have a team of people behind you that are producing and promoting. But there's something that's even more incredible about the authentic nature of someone trying to make a difference. And I think that is what separates your documentary. And some people that I talk to is that these are individuals on the front line without a budget making their own message. And I think that is not only inspiring, but it's powerful, and it's authenticity. Authenticity is vastly more important than a big budget. Big budgets are nice, but anybody can do it with a big budget. Try doing it by yourself. Try creating a team around you. And I'm proud of you for that. I think that's why your documentary stands out. Is like, you built this thing and people come to it. Like, you shine this light and people are moving towards it. It would be nice to go have a multi-million-dollar education. It would be nice to have all that, but you can do it without it. And I want to encourage people to follow your light and do that. Like, it's beautiful, and that's what makes it beautiful. So thank you for having the courage to do it.
My pleasure. And more to come. More to come.
Absolutely.
Thank you for ability. For the time and space you gave me today, and so much kudos to you. And I'm looking forward to supporting each other in the future.
Of course.
Thank you all for listening and for your generosity.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for today. I hope you have a beautiful day. Aloha.
Aloha.